Hey guys, it's Cameron on the Murray for you guys. I'm reviewing. This is a movie that I was actually really looking forward to, surprisingly, especially for a January movie. I was actually looking forward to this one, and I did finally get a chance to check it out, and that is none other than Please Stand By. And what Please Stand By is essentially about is we center on the character of Wendy. Wendy is an autistic girl, but she's got this deep passion for Star Trek. She watches it pretty much religiously, and one night when she's watching an episode, she sees this ad where, they're having this contest for someone to write their own episode of Star Trek, and maybe it'll appear, and maybe they'll actually make it an episode, and this really makes her very intrigued. So she decides to run away from home and, find a way to get to that contest in the hopes of submitting her entry, and that's really all I'm going to say. So Please Stand By in general, I was really looking forward to this movie. Like I said, I thought out of all the movies coming out in January, this could definitely be one of the biggest surprises. It had a really great cast. Dakota Fanning, who you just don't see enough of nowadays. Between this and The Alienist, she's really starting to put herself out there again, but I thought she looked really great here. I thought this had a really simple premise to it. I just thought this could be a really fun, solid movie overall. I definitely was very excited for it. And I have to say that while I did overall enjoy Please Stand By, there's a part of me that feels like this movie just could have been a lot more. Now, this is not at all a bad movie. I will definitely say that. There are definitely things I enjoyed about this movie, but it's a film that really does feel like it's holding back. It's playing things a little bit too safe, and we'll get into that right now, starting off with the cast. And look, going into this movie, I thought that was going to be, one of the high points of this film. And it is. I do think that overall everyone did do a really good job. But let's first talk about Dakota Fanning as Wendy, because she was actually the thing I was most looking forward to. I thought she looked really great in the trailers. And yeah, she does do a good job portraying this character. You do feel that she is autistic, but I don't know, something about this performance, it just felt that she was holding back a bit. Like, she just wasn't fully transforming herself into this role. I don't really know if you guys agree with me, but just something about it, it just felt a little bit underperformed. I mean, sure, Wendy does have quite a few significant breakdowns. You do feel her passion for Star Trek, but it just didn't feel like Fanning went all in with the role as the role required her to, and because of that, it just felt a little bit more stale and a little more half-baked than I think it really should have. She does do a good job. She is enjoyable in the role. You do root for her throughout the film. But again, I just didn't feel as connected to Wendy as I wanted to. And again, that really is due to Fanning's portrayal of the character overall. Everyone else in the movie I thought also was really great. Toni Collette does a really great job as the woman Scotty, who is the basically the caretaker at the group home that Wendy is staying at. I thought she overall did a really good job. You could tell the relationship she had with Wendy and how much she cared about her. I thought she was really great. Alice Eve also I thought was really great here as Wendy's sister. I thought she definitely did a really great job. River Alexander I really liked. Patton Oswalt, for what he has, he does a really good job here, as well as Jessica Rothe. Really, the whole cast I thought here was pretty good. There really wasn't anyone that I thought was bad in this film. Everyone did do a pretty good job, and that's something I will definitely give this film overall. Now let's get to the directing and the writing, because here's where we get to maybe my biggest problem with the film, besides Fanning's performance, which, like I said, is good. It's just not as good as it really could have been, and that's the same with the directing. The directing in this movie, I think the biggest problem with it is that it's a very entertaining and enjoyable film, and it's a very positive film. It just isn't taking itself, I think, as seriously as it really should. And again, that's not necessarily a huge problem, because again, the film is more of a comedy, but the film does try to get dramatic several times, and it doesn't entirely work. You don't really feel as emotionally locked in as I think the movie wanted you to. Sure, I enjoy watching Wendy's passion for Star Trek, but I never really felt that emotionally connected. I didn't really get the sense of, oh, this is the only thing that matters to her, and this is like the most important thing. I mean, sure, the movie tells you that, but I just didn't feel that urgency like the movie wanted me me too. And like I said, I think the tone, there are some fun moments in the movie. I can't say I laughed a lot. I will definitely say that. The comedy did not really work as well as I wanted it to, but I was overall entertained, so the directing did kind of work in that way. The screenplay, in my opinion, is pretty good. I do think that this is overall really well written. There is a lot of good stuff with Wendy as a character. The film does do a really good job of introducing you to her, kind of her going through her daily routine, the various stuff she does go through. It is fun to watch, and Wendy, like I said, is an enjoyable character. And I do think a lot of people can relate to Wendy. I mean, everyone has that one thing that they're so set on doing, and it's just such a demand that, they'd like to just put everything else aside in favor of that one thing. And most people don't really get to do that. Life gets in the way. Wendy, that doesn't really happen. Wendy does get to do what she wants, and that's something I did really enjoy seeing. I did like that message overall. I like the film's all about, following your dreams and going for it, but also setting realistic goals, and I do think the film handled it pretty well. It does take itself in a pretty realistic manner, and that's something I really did enjoy for the most part. My other problem in this movie, though, is that besides Wendy and maybe Scotty, I didn't really care about the other characters in this film, and it's not necessarily a huge problem because besides Dakota Fanning, Alice Eve, and Toni, Collette, the other characters here are very much just, in and out type characters. Like, they're in the movie for a second and then they go away. They're in it for this purpose and then they go away. There's no one really here besides those three who is that detrimental to the story. Jessica Rothe, Patton, Oswalt, all of those actors in the movie, they don't really have a lot to do, and they are pretty underused. Patton Oswalt in particular I thought was really underused here. They really could have given him a lot more to do, and they really didn't, and I did definitely think he was a bit wasted. Jessica Rothe as well, I really did want to see more from her. They didn't really do a lot with her in this movie. So that definitely did let me down a bit, but I will say the film actually does have a nice through line without spoiling anything. There is a legitimate reason for why Wendy is the way she is, and there is definitely some sort of, not grief, but regret that she's going through, and I did think the film handled that pretty well. It involves Alice Eve's character. I'm not getting into it too much, but I actually did think the film handled that specific thing very well. I actually did really enjoy that part of the film. I wish they would have focused on it just a little bit more, but especially the way the film ended, I was overall satisfied by. So that definitely did work. Like I said, a lot of the humor does very much fall flat, and a lot of the detours that Wendy does take throughout the film, they're just not anything that special. You've seen it a million times, and there really isn't anything that different to it. A lot of this movie does feel like your typical road trip film at points. Even though she ran away from home, it does have a very road trip-esque vibe, like something like National Lampoon or something like that, and it just isn't as memorable as those other films are. So that, again, does... I do think does kind of put a dampener on this film, just because there have been other films that have come before it that have handled this sort of, form of storytelling in a much better fashion than this movie really did. So I do think that does hurt the film overall. But like I said, the film does take itself pretty realistically when it comes to Star Trek, and the way the movie did wrap up, I actually really did like. I was surprised that the movie went where they did, but let's just say it doesn't necessarily go the way you think it's going to go for Wendy, and I was surprised that the movie did take in that direction. I think for the most part it did work. I was overall impressed with the way they did take it. I thought it worked pretty well there. The cinematography here I thought was good, but again, it just felt like they were holding back a bit. Like, throughout the film, we do see Wendy kind of fantasize about Star Trek, but I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of that. I wanted some more fantasy sequences and getting more into how Wendy views the world, which we don't really see a lot of them. I think they could have really added to the enjoyment of this film, and it just really didn't. Again, it just felt a little bit under, it's something about it just felt a little under creative. The score here I thought was fine, really nothing much to it. And the editing, this is a very quick watch, so I can't really say the film is too fast paced or anything like that. I will admit, though, the first, 30 minutes of this movie, I really was not that into. The film starts really great with this really great introduction, but once we're in the group home, I just didn't really feel that connected to what was going on. I really was not into the story. It really wasn't until Wendy ran away, that's when I started to get into the movie. A lot of the characters with me in that group home, they're just not very compelling. They don't really do a lot with them, and I do feel that we could have gotten a lot more with those characters overall. Like I said, please stand by. It's an enjoyable watch. It's not at all a bad movie. It's something that I did overall enjoy watching. I just felt it could have been a lot more. The best way to describe it is this is an enjoyably forgettable film. I enjoyed the time that I had watching this movie, but I'd never really go back to it. I can't really ever see myself rewatching this movie again. It's a fun first-time watch, but there's really not much else to it. I do think Dakota Fanning has a future, but this just isn't the career-defining performance that I expect it to be. The trailer made it seem like it's going to be a really amazing performance for her, and it just kind of felt like she was holding back a bit. And because she's holding back, the rest of the film in question very much does feel the way. It just feels like the film could have been a lot more, and it just felt a little too safe, and I feel like they could have dived a little bit deeper into some of the things that they just didn't. I didn't really feel emotionally connected to what was going on, and I do think that did hurt the film just a little bit overall. Like I said, it's an enjoyable film, and it's really nothing I could see myself going back to, and I am going to give Please Stand By overall a C+. So overall, guys, remember, please stand by overall. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie. Have seen it. I would recommend it overall. It's not really getting a lot of attention, but like I said, it's an enjoyable film. I do think that you will enjoy yourself while you're watching it. But that's it, my review. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys in my next video, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.